Forest Focus today, we welcome Amber Wildgust to the show. Amber's Forest Women's and Girls Manager at what's an exciting time for the club as we discuss Forest Women going full-time, plus some exciting signings for the Reds as they aim for promotion next season. Amber, good to have you with us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'll put you on the spot straight away. Do you like the new music, or do you think it's... someone said it makes them think of Dignitas, which was a bit depressing, but do you like it or not?
Well, I didn't really know what the old music was, but I was having a little jive, to be fair to it, as it was playing. So I'm going to say I like it, but it's difficult for me to say because I didn't know what the old stuff was.
It's completely different. It was much more full on and aggressive. So I like it. I'm glad you say that. Before we get started, I asked you how you say your surname and then realised I might have said it wrong in the intro there because I forgot. But people either ask you this loads or don't ask you this at all. Do you know where your surname comes from? Because Wildgust is pretty unusual.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange story, actually. It used to be Wild Goose, but the church in Arnold, it's St. Mary's Church, they spelt it wrong and it turned into Wildgust. So that's actually the church that my mum and dad got married in as well. They didn't spell it wrong for my mum and dad's marriage, but years ago it dates back and someone spelt it Wild Gust instead of Wild Goose.
Interesting.
So that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And just this is your second year with Forest, and we'll discuss that. But what was your road to get to Forest in terms of playing, and now more in the the admin and the recruitment and the whole structure side of it? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, well, I guess like my road into football started at Forest. So I wanted to play football when I was a kid and wanted to play for a team. And my dad found Nottingham Forest Ladies at the time, which was like a grassroots setup. But obviously we wore all the kit and had the badge and stuff. So I got into playing football with Forest, and that was based down at Baseford United. And then left, went to university, ended up playing and coaching for Leicester, left there, and then ended up being the general manager at Aston Villa. And then from there went to Watford, then to London City Lionesses, and then back home to Nottingham Forest. So I think I quickly realised when I started coaching that I was no good at playing. So kind of went down that route. And then I really wanted to be a good coach, and an opportunity came up at Aston Villa, and I thought this job's going to help me know more about the off pitch, which is going to help me on pitch. And then I just ended up staying as like a general manager because I really enjoyed the impact that you had off pitch. And yeah, now I'm here at Nottingham Forest. So hopefully that was a good whistle-stop tour.
What is the role at Forest then? Because you're not on the pitch, on the grass coaching by the sound of it, because I guess Carly Davis does that. So what's your role at Forest?
Yeah, so I guess like the easiest way for me to describe it is it's pretty much like a sporting director role, almost mini CEO type of role, because I kind of cover everything both on and off the pitch. So I support Carly with the recruitment, signing the players, doing the contract negotiations. So there's that side of it. Then off the pitch, it's around like the scheduling, the budgets, supporting with match day attendances, everything like that around the women's first team, but then also deciding what direction of travel that we want to go in from a girls' academy perspective, how many teams you want. So working really closely with Dave Long, our girls' academy manager as well. So it's pretty much everything you can imagine, I would probably say. But I've got a really good staff workforce that then deliver that on a day-to-day.
It sounds like a lot's changed you were appointed 12 months ago. It sounds like a lot's changed, and as we'll discuss, a lot more's going to change. Has it taken 12 months to kind of get your feet under the table and feel like it's kind of your ship now to steer in a sense?
Oh, very good question. I feel like nothing can really prepare you for football and prepare you for the direction of travel because it's a very fast-paced environment. I do feel like I've got my feet under the table now, as you said, and I know a lot of the staff and a lot of the staff over at the stadium in order to get things done. So yeah, definitely. I think last year was a bit of a practice year, shall we say. Like Carly came in the week of the first game of the season. We got the players in quite late again because my appointment was late on in the day. So it pretty much was a year to get all the teething problems out and get a structure in place, get a strategy together. And then now we've got that, it's ready for us to kick on and execute that. So yeah, it was 12 months of deciding which direction of travel we wanted to go in and how we were going to do it. And now it's about getting it done.
And I guess the direction of travel you'd always want to go in is going full-time professional, which is going to happen from next season. You're going to play 11 home games at the City Ground as well. It's a big departure. I mean, how did it come about? Was it something you lobbied for? Did the club welcome it with open arms? What was the process?
Yeah, so really good question. So obviously, we always wanted to be in the Championship. That's always been the aim, to get out of Tier 3 and into the Championship. And part of that process is it's a bit different in men's football. Men's football, you get promoted into the Premier League, and then you get a grace period to get everything in order. In women's football, it's the other way around. So you have to put an application together to say that you're ready to play in the Championship, and then you have to sit tight and try and win the league. And if you win the league, but your application's not up to standard and you haven't got a stadium to play, you haven't got training facilities, or you haven't got a doctor or a medical staff, then you don't go up. So we started that process pretty much as soon as I came into the door, and it was a case of this cheesy slogan of Championship ready. Is that Championship ready? We need to be Championship ready. And we handed the application in around January time, which coincided quite nicely with the application for the netball team. And we passed that application. So I think at that point it was kind of like, well, we've done all of this to be in the Championship. Like, why don't we just do it now? Like, we've got everything ready to go to be in the Championship. Why don't we do it now? And we set up a women's board to make those decisions, those more key critical decisions. And as a women's board, we decided, like, yeah, we should go full time. Like, it's now or never. It'll be really good for the transition. So hopefully we get promoted this year, and we've already been full time or as close to it as we can, so that transition into the Championship is almost seamless. So then it was just a case of getting in front of Mr. Marinakis, and once he's seen the proposal, he was just like, yeah, no brainer, like, let's do it. We need to go full time. He wants us in the Super League. We've got a men's team in the Premier League. We've got a netball team in the Super League, and we've got a women's football team in Tier 3. It's not right. So, like, let's go for it. It's now or never, really. And with the changes with Nuco, it really is that we need to get out of the Championship into the Championship as soon as possible, so we can kick on.
Interesting. So you've got to put the money in before you can go up, which is, it's interesting for the structure of the women's game. What doors does it open being full time? Obviously, recruitment's one of them, I guess, but it must make a big, just sweeping difference to everything that the women's team will be at the club.
Yeah, I think recruitment's massive, both from a player and a staff perspective. It means that we can bring in players and staff that their pure focus is the football. Whereas last year we had some players that were working in the day and then they would come and play for us in the evening and train. So their lifestyle was split. Like, football is a lifestyle. So it means that we've got staff and players that their focus is obviously being at Nottingham Forest and winning the league. It also means that from a performance perspective, the players are training in the day and they're not training really late at night, so they can get rest, they can focus on their nutrition, everything like that. It's just more, we're just more aligned to being professional. In order to be professional, you can then perform, and we can perform on the pitch. So it's been really critical, really.
I mean, I don't follow the women's game completely. Like, I wouldn't say I'm an expert or anything, but I was reading about Man United women. It sounds like they haven't been treated overly well. Blackburn paying their players, as little as they can get away with. Obviously, you're not going to go into figures with me, but are the club going to pay the women's players enough that they're living comfortably and can make a proper living from being a professional footballer at Forest?
Yeah, so I think as a club, we pay staff across the board, like, based on their role, on the value that they bring to the club, and how talented they are as, like, an individual. And there's no different to the women's players, like, they're members of staff at the end of the day. They're all very talented, which is why we've recruited them. They bring a humongous amount of value to the club, both from being role models for young girls and young boys in Nottingham, and a value to the club that you can't, like, they're fantastic, really. So they'll be paid no different to the staff that we have across the rest of the business, where they can live off that money. They're full-time members of staff, and they'll be paid accordingly, and rightly so.
The wider picture as well, from reading the launch of the full-time section, it talked about pumping resource and, I guess, cash as well into the academy section.
Yeah.
What's the long-term plan there? Obviously, you want to bring your own players through from under 8s like you were all the way through to the first team.
Yeah, so our academy program at the moment was pretty much like a grassroots club. So we've decided to move away from that and set up more of a professional academy feel. So we really want to diversify our talent pathway as well. So at the moment, it's not as diverse as it could be, and we probably recruit a lot of players from like suburban areas in Nottingham, and anyone that's outside of West Bridgford, there's probably not enough places for them to play. So we're really passionate about our girls' pathway. We want to diversify it. We want to make sure that we're bringing players through, because currently at the minute it's just Lindsay Harkin that's come through the pathway, and that's really important to us. And for example, like Miria, she played for Nottingham Forest when she was younger, West Bridgford, then to Nottingham Forest. So now she's over at PSG, but we want to be in a place where when there's really talented players in Nottingham, that they can come through and then they can play for our women's first team. So the plans for the girls' academy is basically to let them play and express themselves and play for grassroots boys teams or play for women's senior teams that are in like tier 3 or 4. And then they can also then play for us and go and play against Aston Villa, Leicester, university teams, and be exposed to loads of different types of environments, loads of different types of opposition, games. So when they do make the step up to the women's first team, they've played against boys, they've played with boys, they've played against women, they've played with women. So nothing's new to them. And it's a really exciting program. And Dave's been really innovative with the way that he wants to set that up. And again, like with hosting talent days as well throughout the year. So it's not just a case of a trial process in summer and you're either in or you're out. It's going to be really fluid movement. And we're going to work really closely with like the grassroots clubs in Nottingham so that they can play both for Nottingham Forest and for their grassroots clubs. So it's not a case of us taking the best players out of grassroots clubs and leaving grassroots clubs to fend for themselves. We really want to work with the grassroots clubs too.
This is a bit of a tangent. Is the pathway right for girls at the moment then? Because I went to watch my daughter's primary school played in the Leicestershire County Cup final at the King Power Stadium, and they lost. And the opposition player who scored a hat trick was a girl. And I would say my daughter's school's second best player was a girl, and she's in Leicester's academy. So they're 10 playing. With boys, is that the best way? At what age should they play to? What's the best way to get girls to maximise their talent? Are we doing it right at the moment?
I think there's loads of different ways that you can resolve the pathway. I think they do it differently in Spain to what they do in the Netherlands to what we're doing in England. From what the research that me and Dave have looked into, and if you look at the current Lionesses squad, the majority of them played with boys, not necessarily with girls, and neither did they play with girls against boys. So you look at like Lucy Bronze, she played with boys, and also they either had like they had an older brother that they played in the streets with or had a kickabout with. So yeah, me and Dave have like researched quite a lot into it, and that's what we feel is really important, is that they play with boys for as long as they can. The other thing that we feel is really important as well, and again, like we did a bit of research into it, is that they play senior football as soon as they can. So around like the 16, as soon as they're 16, they make their senior debut. So from our 16 plus age group, like if we've got really talented girls, like we want them to go play for West Bridgford women, or we want them to go play for Long Eaton women, because we think that's really going to stretch and challenge them. And that's what they need to do. They need to be stretched and challenged. But then also we want them to have opportunities to feel safe and be able to express themselves. So to answer your question, that's a really tough question, isn't it, to answer? Like, is the pathway right? I don't think we've got it right at the moment, but I do think the FA are working really hard to research and find out what's the best pathway for girls to break into the England squads. And I think at the moment, the route that is diversifying their exposure to different types of games and opposition, so they're prepared for when they're at senior level.
Excellent. We'll talk about the women's first team and the ambitions for the season ahead. Just a word quickly for our sponsors, the Trent Navigation, before we do. Obviously, the season is not far away for the men's team in the Premier League. When does the women's season start? What date?
18th of August. We've got Stoke away.
Okay. We'll do a proper plug before the end, before that. But yeah, if you're going to watch Forest at the City Ground, this will apply to the women as well in next season as well, then get down to the NAB pre-match for all the build-up and post-match after we have, I assumed, won the game. So thanks very much to the NAB for their support as ever. Right, I just want to talk about this season for you guys. I'm going to go through some of the signings that you've made for people who are listening and aren't aware of it. So you signed, excuse me, the following players. Kate Longhurst is 35, massive experience, two-time WSL winner, and was the joint record appearance holder. Naomi Beddoe won the league that Forest win with Newcastle last season. Charlie Wellings is an England under-21 international or former, had a ridiculous goal-scoring record in Scotland. Melissa Johnson won the Championship Golden Boot the season before last. Millie Chandarana played in the Championship last season. And Amy Sims played in the same league as Forest last season, but she was Derby's captain, so that's a statement signing in itself. Those are players that probably should all be playing in higher levels by the sound of it. So you're really going for it this season, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I think the signings that we've brought in, really, like me and Carly are really proud of them. Obviously, we've worked with a few of them before. We've always been trying to get Amy to change allegiances and come over to Nottingham Forest, and she's finally made that step, which we're delighted with. And her dad is as well, because her mum's a Derby supporter and her dad's a Forest supporter, and they live in Long Eaton. So bless them, they're like literally on the boundary, aren't they? So delighted that she's come across and she's got fantastic potential. So I think we've got a really good blend of high potential players that are going to come in and come along on the journey with us. And then also players, like you said, like Kate Longhurst, Charlie Wellings and Mel Johnson, that have already been at the top of the game and they want to take a club to the top of the game too. So obviously the project's really exciting. The club's fantastic. Obviously, we're all going to be biased about that. Like, it's a really historic club. It's steeped in history. And the players have all bought into that, and they want to play for Forest. It's really exciting. They want to be part of, hopefully, what's going to be a winning team and taking the team into the Championship. And no one can take that away from them as a player. So, yeah, the signings that we've made, like, I'm really proud of. And I'm managed to watch them obviously play against Watford at the weekend in our pre-season friendly. We've got Blackburn this weekend as well, so it'll be interesting to see how Millie gets on against her former team. But yeah, they've been doing really well in training, and we're starting to see like a bit of a starting 11 form, and we're really excited to see them crack on and play. And the way that Carly wants to play is really aggressive and pressing on the front foot. So the players that we've brought in as well can do that. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a successful season on the pitch for sure.
If you weren't going full time, would you have got any of these players realistically?
Very good question. Some of them potentially. So Amy, we would have definitely have got, because we signed Amy before we flipped to full time. Kate Longhurst and Mel Johnson, probably not, because it's really attractive to play football and to play football in the day. Playing football at 10 o'clock at night probably isn't something that you want to do, especially when you're used to turning up, having breakfast, going out and playing, doing a gym session, having the afternoon to like rest and recover. Would we have been able to get the likes of Kate Longhurst? Absolutely not, because she's a professional and that's what she's used to. So she wants to be in a professional environment where she feels supported. She wants to be in a professional environment where if she's got a twinge in her knee, like, she's got a doctor and she's got a physio to see her and look after her and see her through that rehab. So no, we wouldn't have been able to get those likes of those players if we weren't professional and full time.
It seems like every year in your league, because only the team that wins the league goes up automatically. Like there's Newcastle last year who put the money in. Is it you this year? Are you the team to beat? Or looking at your league, is there another club that's doing similar to you that means it's going to be a 2-horse race?
The National League North is very, very, very competitive. So in comparison to the Southern, so I would say there's obviously us, and we want to get promoted, and that's our aims. You've also got Burnley as well, who finished second last year. You've got Wolves as well. Stoke are also investing. So it's a really competitive league. And even teams that aren't investing as much, they've got really good squads, and they're difficult to play against and they're difficult to break down. So it's really competitive. I wouldn't say it's a 2-horse race. I would like to say that we would dominate, but it's a really tough league. But we'll go out, we'll play the football that we know that we can play. But we probably are going to have a target on our backs because we're full time and we're basically the new Newcastle from last year. So everyone's going to want to beat us because everyone's going to want to prove a point that we've beat a professional outfit and I'm not getting paid and they are, and we've managed to beat them 1-0. So I think that's the bit that is going to be new to us this year, is being the team to beat. And it's going to be really competitive. And I would say Burnley are bringing in some really good players as well, and they've got really good staff support around them. So I would say it's between us, Burnley and Wolves, to answer your question.
You've hit on the next question I was going to ask around expectation and pressure and mentality being as much of a thing as anything. Is that why you brought a player like Kate Longhurst in? Because you're going to go into every game probably expecting to win, and also the other team probably wanting to go out there and, like you say, leave a mark, so to speak, I guess, and cause a shock.
Yeah, like 100%. Like this year, we have to win. We have to win as many games as possible, and we have to be ruthless with those games. Like we can't just be winning like 1-0, 2-0. Like if we've got an opportunity to go and get as many goals as possible, like we need to do that, because in the past it's come down to goal difference. So we need to be ruthless, and I don't think we were ruthless last year, being completely honest. We didn't put our chances away as much as we could have. So bringing someone in like Mel Johnson, who's a prolific goal scorer, who's an absolute poacher and will put anything away once it's in the 6-yard box, is critical to us. Having someone like Kate Longhurst, who knows what it takes to win, knows what it takes to win consistently and across a whole season. Like it's a long season. There's no breaks really. We don't have international breaks because we're in an amateur league. So it is relentless. So we need to bring in players with that mentality of wanting to win and wanting to win every single week. And if it's tough and we're playing Halifax away and it's raining, like we've just got to do what we need to do to get a result out of the game. And that's why we've brought in those experienced players.
And just how is it going to work this season? Because full-time isn't until next season. I know you're going to have some full-time players. What percentage of the squad is going to be kind of like non-league men play, still doing training 2 days a week, working day jobs, and how it's been for you guys in the past? How many of your players are going to be working stat models still, roughly?
Yes. So like last year we had 6 full-time players and the rest of the players were part-time, and we've flipped that now. So it's going to be 6 part-time players and the rest full-time. So they'll all train together on a Tuesday evening. And then the full-time players will be in Wednesday, Thursday morning, and then all train together on a Saturday morning going into the game. And then the part-time players, they'll train on a Wednesday evening and a Thursday evening and have like a more IDP, like individual, like unit-based work, which is exactly the same as what we did last year, but flipped. So everyone would train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, and the afternoon players, the full-time players, would train in the afternoon of those days and do more IDP work on whether it's their touch, whether it's their set pieces, whether it's them playing out from the back under pressure. So it's pretty much what we did last year, but flipped in that essence. And then obviously next year we'll transition to make sure that then everyone's full-time and in the day.
And just lastly, then, you said earlier when the season starts. I always say this when I interview anyone to do with the Forest women's team, but I took my kids to a game, and it feels like a great gateway into football for boys and girls, younger kids, especially like my son doesn't like the noise of the city grounds. It puts him off a bit. So it's a good way for families to be introduced to football, I guess, going to watch Forest women as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the reasons why we're playing all our home games at the City Ground, because no one can get to them on a Saturday at 3 o'clock because it's always sold out every single week. Everyone's got their seats. Everyone's always trying to get some tickets, and it's impossible, right? But to get to a women's game, it's a lot more accessible. You can buy tickets, and then later on in the week, if someone else wants to come with you, they can buy tickets, and you can go as a group, sit wherever you want. It's not as loud. Mulligan Tie is still quite loud at the start of the game. It's not as loud as the men's team, but it's still loud, so you get to experience that too. There's not as much language, shall we say, in terms of like the chanting, which is a bit more like family friendly. So definitely, and there's a lot more accessibility to the players. So like at the end of the game, the players will always come over and take signatures and have photos and things like that. So it really is a great gateway into becoming a Forest fan. I do think it's a lot more accessible. You can get tickets, you can get access to the players. And it's a lot more of a better atmosphere. Like, yes, the pressure will be on for us to win games, but you're not sat there tense thinking, oh my God, is Murillo going to save that off the line? I love Murillo. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to get your family into Forest rather than just you and your mate going on a Saturday because you're season ticket holders.
What position did you play when you were playing?
I played centre mid and then I moved back into defence, probably because my legs started to go, but I think that happens with everyone, doesn't it?
So is that why, I was wondering, was that why you love Murillo, or you love centre mids, Yates or Dominguez or Gibbs White, that kind of player then?
I just love Murillo. He's just so composed on the ball. Like, he's just, every time he gets it, like his defending, like I can't describe it, but I just really enjoy watching him play. It's almost like when he gets the ball or when it's around him, we go into slow motion and he just comes out really calm and collective and then just sprays it. I just think he's great. Do you
No,
like Murillo? Is he your favourite player or?
do you know, this is a fan answer. I find it harder to get attached to them because now we're in the Premier League. I feel like they're going to move on if they're really good, but we haven't seen that this summer. Actually, I thought Murillo would go, and he's still here, which is great. I mean, I love watching Gibbs White. I love that kind of player. I used to love Andy Reid when I was growing up, so that kind of cultured player is the one. But I love Ryan Yates as well. We've discussed him all week on the podcast about whether he's going to get in the team next year. But I love what he brings to the squad, even if he's not going to play every game. So yeah, they're the ones. But there's loads I love. I mean, we're going off on a tangent. It's a bit like you. It's a bit like you guys with the women. It feels like we're elevating to another level with the players we're signing, in the men's team, and you guys are doing that as well. So it's exciting times for the football club, certainly. Just before we finish, which kind of leads us into final words, if people have liked this, do us a favor, hit like on the video, do subscribe, leave us a lovely review on iTunes, and do consider becoming a channel member. I mean, that sort of leads into the teeing you up for final words and anything else you want to say, because it does feel like it's an exciting time for the whole football club, I guess. So is there anything you want to say on that, and just anything else you want to plug?
No, I just think it's a really exciting time at the club. Obviously, we're making some fantastic signings across both like the men and women's football team. Obviously, can't forget the netball team as well. We've just appointed Chelsea as well to lead that programme and playing games at the Motor Point Arena. And I know some of the players that we're bringing in there as well. So yeah, there's a really good vibe and atmosphere around the club at the minute and around the training ground. And I know the men are away in Spain at the minute, but when they come back, it's going to be really exciting times, both for all the clubs across, all the teams across the club. So yeah, definitely, if you can't get down to a men's game, come down to a women's game. And also, if you want to watch us in a Garibaldi netball dress, get yourself down to the Motor Point Arena as well. So really exciting time at the club.
We will do stuff on the netball team. You're doing my job for me here. I've got someone volunteered who is a journalist for the BBC who covers netball or follows netball and is a professional broadcaster. So yeah, we'll have good stuff on the netball season close to the time, I promise. Right, we shall be back tomorrow because the game's been moved, so we'll do something straight after Elche, and then we'll be back on Monday with Lewis is signed up for that, so we'll chat about the weekend news. But Amber, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. Lots of interesting stuff there on how it's going for you, so thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me this morning, Matt.
Yeah, no problem at all. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for your company, and as ever, we shall see you soon.